Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. So, Maleficent. Yes, the new Disney film. Now, I've been preparing for it, but I'm not seeing it till Tuesday, and it's Saturday today. But there's some things that I can make that I know are going to stay the same, and some things I've managed to see on previews and all sorts of things. Now, one of the things that's going to stay the same is the raven, maybe a bit fatter than that. So today we're making the raven, and yeah, that's fine, isn't it? Now, the easiest way to make a model of a soft toy, no matter what animal it is to literally draw the side and then make a little panel to go around the bottom to sort of pad him out. Now, that's the way I'm going to do it. Now, I'm well aware that I'm not going to be able to do the legs unless I use something like pipe cleaners or something like that. But even so, it's going to be tricky. So what I'm going to do is mount him with elastic so he sits on my shoulder. Now it's quite easy, and it's quite good fun. And yeah, I'm just roughly doing these, cutting them out. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to fold this in half and then cut it out so that it's equal. Now, I'm using fur for the main body. I think that's the only thing that would work. And I'm using just a piece of black cloth for the beak. And I've got two eyes that I know, I'm going to put them back in the bag though. They're just little beaky black eyes. So these things. Yeah, so I've got everything I need. Now, in my travels for the last couple of weeks, I have been studying ravens because we've got quite a few down here, and I've noticed the ones further south have got yellow beaks, but it's got a black beak in the film, so I'm going to go with the black beak. So what I need is I need two of the bird shape, and there's probably enough of a line there for me to copy, and I need 4 of the wings. Now, you could, to save fabric, do 2 sides of the wings so that you can save just that little bit of fabric, do the insides under. Yeah, what I'm looking for is actually a pencil, and yeah, I know, I do take a minute to prepare before I sit down, but obviously I don't take long enough. So here we go. I don't need the beak, but I thought, well, I'll draw it in because it will just look better, and I need a hem allowance, so I'm going around quite a lot. Yeah, so yellow beaks down south in London, and not in the film or up north. Yeah, the ones around here, they're black, but if I go any further, then they're not there. Now, I don't really know if I should leave the camera on whilst I'm doing this. I'm always a bit conscious that I might be tricking you, because sometimes I've watched these videos myself, and then it's like a miracle. Although sometimes when I'm sewing, I must admit, it is a bit like a miracle that it actually comes together. So, lovely. That's my main body. I'm going to use this offcut here as my panel, just to give him a bit of fluffiness. And then I'm going to do 4 folds of the wings. So, yes, so much for me saying that I'm never using fur again, eh? I did a series of videos using white poodle fur, lamb's fur, and I couldn't concentrate because I just itched all over. And I'm not allergic to animals. I'm not allergic to fur or anything, and I found it quite distracting as well, because every now and again I'd be sewing away and a piece of fluff would just float past, so not good at all. Have all my bits. I can get rid of my pattern now. There is a better drawing of the pattern, which I can put up on Facebook for you. In fact, I'll show you. I was busy. Yes, we have a file and everything's in there now. Yes, quite up to date. So all I'm going to use for the beak is literally a triangle, and I'm going to put a bit of stuffing in there as well. Yes, so all you need for this make is black cloth. I've gone for fur. You could use fleece, or you could, yeah, I don't know. I think if you used anything else, you might individually sew on every feather, and that wouldn't work. Now, quite simply, I'm going to sew the wings together. Now, I'm using a dark brown thread. This is because I found that a lot of the time, when you look at something and it looks like black, it doesn't actually, it's not black. So I'm going to make sure that I use dark brown, and then it won't show up so much, the stitching won't show up. Although there is no visible stitching. Well, actually, I was thinking maybe I will, oopsie. Put a couple of lines on the wings just to sort of define feathers. Okay, so that's that. 2 wings. And I'm going to turn them inside out now, so I'm all up to date. It's just easier for me. And then I don't think I will run a couple of feathers across there, but it depends how thick the fur is that you're going to use. Lovely. Now for the beak, I'm going to put some stuffing in it, and I wanted to use shiny fabric. And you could do 4, you could do 3 sides for this, just to make it a bit more plush and puffy, because let's face it, a raven is his beak. So let's turn this inside out and let's have a look. It might be too small. I think I'm going to do that again, so I'll come back to that. Now we have, I might need to do that now actually, sorry, mucking you around here, but I like you to know that I'm human. So okay, I'm going to make a larger beak, and the shape I'm cutting out is going to be, I just get rid of these, and I want to get rid of that. So it's like a very wide triangle, so that we've got that sort of hammer beak going. Get rid of that, and I'm just going to run some stitches along there and then turn it inside out. Yeah, that's a lot better shape, isn't it? So, and it only needs to be a tiny amount just to keep it rounded. Okay, so that's my beak done. It's always good to have a bit finished, isn't it? Now, okay, so I've got my 2 halves here and my panel, and I suppose it's best to sew the panel on first and then sew the 2 halves round in one go. Now I'm going to put the bigger half at the bottom. Yeah, so this is just a belly, really, just to give it a bit more definition. And all I've done is from the top of the head gone down to the base of the tail. Now, I did guess this, but I will put the measurements up a bit clearer when I put them up on the website. Okay, and I need to leave a gap for my beak. Yeah, so I'm going to do that at the end, and I'm going to sew along the back. Now, fabric fur does stretch, so you do have to be quite considerate with it, and there is a lot to be said for holding the bottom one down so that you don't end up with loads of excess on the top. So you're stopping it from pulling through. Okay, so I'm just going around the tail now. I'm going to just check that I've got both bits of fabric and adjust them slightly. If this was longer pile fur, then I would push the pile in as I go. I know, just another thing to concentrate on, but it does mean that you don't have to unpick it all and pull out the fur. So I'm now joining up my poofy bit to make him a bit podgier, which is just literally if you think of it as like sewing a triangle. And I'm coming up to the end and I want all 3 fabrics to join. So that's great. Now I'm going to use the hole which I've left for the beak as to turn it inside out. So yes. And it's a fish! Oh, I'm joking. I'm joking. I have every faith. I'm just pulling out the tail now. And you can use some scissors just to puff it out as well. Make sure it's nice and flat. Now, you do have 2 choices on how to sew the beak. Oh, I'm going to put the eyes in next, sorry. Jumping ahead, jumping ahead. Okay, so we've got it in the basic shape and we need to put the eyes in. Now, if we go back to the original drawing, we can see that we need the eyes at the top of the beak pretty much. So that it's surprisingly close. So, and there's nothing worse than not having your eyes meet up. So yes, do take a minute, draw them in pencil, because once these eyes are in, then you're pretty much stuck because it does pierce a hole through the fabric, and yeah, you can only really use the backing plates once. So, and then you just take your washer once you've got it through the material and pop it on. Lovely. And we'll just do the other side. Of course, just double checking that you're not doing it on the base or anything. Lovely, just pushing it through. So, there we go, fairly level, and get that out the way. So now we have choices. If we're going to use the sewing machine to sew these on, the wings that is, then we ought to do that now. I think it would be beneficial just to sew them on with hand stitching. So that's how I'm going to do it. Now the beak as well, if we're quite happy to have the beak like that, then we can just run it over with the sewing machine. But if we want to go round and have the beak pushed out, then we have to actually take the time and sew round, hand sew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the beak on with the sewing machine, but I'm going to hand sew the wings on, because otherwise that will just be quite a bulky seam and it will pull it all out of proportion. So yes, before I sew the beak on, I have to stuff him. Yeah, and it's a good idea whilst you're stuffing him just to get all those seams nice and straight. So lovely. Got him all ready to go, and I can place that in there and then run it down with the sewing machine. I didn't do a very good job of pushing that out, did I? There we are. So I'm getting a needle out anyway. I'm going to hand sew him. Okay, I'll get that switched off and then I'll be back in a moment. Hi, yeah, I've done that now. I must admit I prefer this side. It looks more crowy. And maybe on the pattern I'll put a bigger tail. Okay, so the next step is, I'm going to use a bit of paper for this one. Sometimes I can't describe things with hand signals. Hey, you even get a fresh bit of paper. Doesn't happen a lot. Okay, so yes, to do the next bit, which is how I'm going to secure it on my shoulder. So I have my shoulder here going along, and I have my head, and then I'm going to have my bird sat on my shoulder. So I'm going to take a piece of elastic and I'm going to wind it round so it goes under my arm, and then with another piece of elastic I'm going to wind it round so it goes over and then under my other arm. So the only way I can describe it is kind of like a gun holster. Now, what I would say is that you can take this measurement and it will be a third of what the measurement, you take a third off this measurement. Now, in a way you might as well measure it while you're doing it with a piece of elastic. Now I've done that on myself. Obviously I'm doing it on myself rather than doing it on a child. And yeah, I would say that's nearly a full metre of elastic that I'm using. Oh, you can't see me, so you don't know what I'm doing anyway. So anyway, I've got a full metre of elastic there. And I am going to tie it in a knot. I could sew it so that it's a bit tidier, but I'll just tie it in a knot for now. And if I can get I've still got my needle in here ready to do it, and I'm going to sew a loop so that I can adjust it quite easily, and then I'm going to place this through there. So, and I'm not attempting to do legs, because if you can get hold of some yellow pipe cleaners, then do. Okay, now that should be enough to secure it. I must admit I've just looped it over with the needle and I haven't even tied a knot in there. And then it goes on my shoulder and we do a figure of 8. Let's get you a bit more. There we go. We can move the camera, can't we? Okay, so he's the right way round, and then it's a matter of a figure of 8 so that he stays up there. Oh, oh no, what am I doing? Oh, and then you're neither up nor down now, are you? If I go down slightly, and then I can get you in there. So there we are. And of course, you could do this nylon in a more sympathetic colour so that it doesn't show quite as much. But there we are, a raven for Maleficent, which I can pronounce. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed making it. And yes, I hope you enjoy the film as well. Thank you.